So I recently spoke to a group of 200 high school students in San Francisco, and I asked them a simple question. What do you want to be when you're older? And I had them share their responses with each other. And then I said, if you want to be more than 5 things when you grow up, stand up. And how many people do you think stood up? None of them. I counted down to 1, and every single one of them stood up. And one of the girls shouted out, but I thought it was only supposed to be one thing. And that was the point I was trying to make. Of all these people in this room, an auditorium almost this size, they each only had one idea of what they wanted to be when they were older. According to the Gallup organization, about 70% of US workers either hate work or are entirely disengaged. And I believe that we start kids off very young, asking them what they want to be when they're older, and we pigeonhole them into this idea that they should only be one thing. And I believe that can lead to a lifetime of dissatisfaction, feeling like you missed expectations for yourself, for society, for parents, and for others. And I'm here to propose that there's a better set of questions that we should ask ourselves. What are all the things you want to be when you grow up? And whom do you want to help? Doing that in radical collaboration with many people in this community has helped me lead a more well-balanced life in an integrated way where I'm able to follow many of my passions to help people in this community. So I work in a tech company at a job that I love, but many people have told me that I have an undiagnosed case of attention deficit disorder, probably why I screwed up a little bit at the beginning. Right? I love photography, and quick snapshots are sort of how I exist in the world. I love to capture a moment in time, brings me back to a place of happiness or a connection that I made, a fleeting moment with someone. Like this, in a mud boma hut in Tanzania with my parents and my wife and my kids. This eye is great if you have no attention span. You take the shot and the eye's gone. Or this one. You've got to shoot super quick before the finger leaves the nose. This is a boy in Antananarivo, Madagascar, in the capital. Or this picture of my wife and her hennaed hand about to be kissed by a camel in a horse and camel stable in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. It always brings me back to my wife and kids and I happy after a day of horseback riding. But it wasn't until I took this picture of CJ. Some of you may recognize him. I took this on the corner of Pacific Avenue and Walnut Avenue. CJ's suffered with PTSD and alcoholism, and he was a former paratrooper. He was homeless at the time. This was the picture that caused me to pause and to reflect on my life and to realize that taking pictures for some fleeting moment in time for my own self-satisfaction was great. There's nothing wrong with it, but something about it felt empty. Philanthropic photography was my answer. I take portraits and I put on large-scale exhibits at galleries, and I focus on the areas of, I get to use the laser, education, ocean conservation, and homelessness. The last 2 have raised over $10,000 each. I'm lucky to work for a company, Microsoft, that matches 100% of everything I give to nonprofits and pays them $17 an hour for every hour that I volunteer. Some of you may recognize this. Many people came. The last event that I did was called Faces of Santa Cruz County. 180 is a program in Santa Cruz that aims to end chronic homelessness by 2020. It's now called 180-2020. I set out to shoot the diversity of people in our community, different ethnicities, different genders, different sexual orientations, and I made sure to shoot people who were homeless, who have never been homeless, and who were housed by the 180 program. Here are some of the faces of Santa Cruz County. I'm not going to tell you who was homeless and who wasn't. You'll have to guess. Pretty diverse community we have. But when you walked into the event, we masked who was who. We wanted to treat everyone as equals, of equal value, and not label them. So you had to guess, and you had to turn this hang tag to learn the background of each person and whether they were homeless and a little bit about them. We shot more than 25 pictures, and it was an amazing evening. We, again, raised almost $10,000. Over 500 people attended opening night, and it was one of the most magical evenings I could have ever imagined. The people were interacting with each other, collaborating, talking, sharing ideas, eating together. And some of the most at-risk homeless people in our community, including CJ, came, and they were schmoozing with the movers and shakers of our town. Maybe some of you here. Business leaders and museum directors and politicians, and everyone was having a great time. No labeling, no pointing fingers. It was just fun, like a party is supposed to be. I got choked up, and I'll probably get choked up here. I got choked up throughout the evening because the people in the pictures had become celebrities for the evening. Regardless of their station in life, regardless of their background, everybody was happy. Anybody whose picture was on the wall was beaming with pride. And they started posing with their fans. Here's Don posing with some of his fans. And here's John and Johnny with their portraits, a couple more fans. And here's Yo-Yo. You may see her downtown sometimes on Pacific Avenue, who had recently housed by 180, posing with me that night and her portrait. But it was this family and a situation that happened that night that touched me the most. Michelle came to the event with her kids dressed to the nines. They made the event their after party after her daughter's middle school graduation. One of the women, herself on a fixed income, who attended, spontaneously raised money from other people in the room to purchase the picture for Michelle and her family. And Microsoft matched that donation, paid to me, then to 180, 100%. It was then at that moment that I realized that my passions and my interests and my day job were all sort of coming together in this balanced way, collaborating with others to help people in the community. Many people purchased pictures for the people in the pictures that night, and that's something I never expected to happen. But that act alone raised $3,000. Because we live in an amazing society, an amazing community, where collaboration and helping others is actually the norm, contrary to what you might read in the news. So if you ask me what I am today, I will tell you all the things: a father, a husband, a son, a brother, a philanthropist, a traveler, a photographer, a former school teacher, a tech geek, and a surf company owner. That's the latest. I recently co-founded an environmentally responsible surf company that gives a percentage of profits back to ocean conservation. I look so stately in that picture. This actually grew out of a different philanthropic photography project where I shot nearly every surfboard shaper in the county while they were working and put on a gallery show to support the Surfrider Santa Cruz ocean conservation efforts. Again, $10,000 raised for the Surfrider Foundation. And my next philanthropic project is for the Digital Nest. We've taken kids around to tech companies all over Santa Cruz and even some over the hill, and we're shooting them in tech companies doing the jobs they might aspire to do someday. And we're putting on a large fundraiser, hopefully to raise even more than $10,000 for the Digital Nest. I choose to live a life that's balanced, that's integrated, where my day job actually complements my passions. I choose to live a life that balances the passion and the productivity and my purpose, and it's the only way I want to live. Many people you've heard today are choosing to live these balanced and integrated lives, and you don't have to quit your day job to do it. Because I continue to ask myself the question that I encourage all of you to ask yourselves, and more importantly, to ask your children. What are all the things I want to be when I grow up? And whom do I want to help? Thank you.